Handsome Hockey Podcast. 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 Handsome Hockey Podcast.
Handsome Hockey Podcast. We should probably record this motherfucker.
I believe that it is best practice for a podcast to hit record.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we are, episode 43. Yeah, we are here in balmy, almost fall, Portland, Oregon.
September 1st, it officially switched to fall. Someone just flipped a switch and it's like, it is cold now. And lots of pumpkin spice lattes were poured today.
And I was so happy. Not so much for the PSL, but for the chill. I'm tired of being hot. I hate it.
We were really fucking hot there for a hot minute. And it lasted...
Like a Red Hot Chili Peppers album?
Uh-huh. It lasted too long, sort of like a Red Hot Chili Peppers album.
At least post Californication, yeah.
I won't lie, I actually really liked Stadium Arcadium and liked the weird songs that the double album pulled.
Yeah.
But that is another conversation for another day.
We don't need to dive into the Handsome Hockey Music Podcast yet. So my name is Jake. I'm here with Evan.
Hey, I'm Evan.
And I will not chide him for not saying his name with joy today.
Speaking of non-joy.
Yeah.
You know who's not joyful?
I think in general, people who live in the Phoenix area, but
the Phoenix Coyotes or the Arizona Coyotes.
The Glendale Coyotes.
Yeah. Biden's eviction moratorium was overturned in the courts, and the first team evicted was the Coyotes by the city of Glendale, who said, "We don't want your money here any longer."
Which is crazy for a stadium to say that, right?
Yeah.
A stadium whose revenue is directly attached to attendance in sporting events.
Right.
Was nah.
Yeah, what they're saying is we will take monster trucks 2 nights a week over your stinky ass hockey equipment.
There'd be more people at a monster truck rally than
in Arizona.
Coyotes.
Don't doubt it. Or whatever it's going to be like, monster trucks and rodeo and I don't know, maybe lingerie football league.
Giant conversations with Joe Arpaio.
Is there a conservative version of my next guest needs no introduction?
Well, thankfully, Rush Limbaugh's dead. So that's still a big win for America, I think, that Rush Limbaugh's dead.
Yeah, it was a definite addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
But anyways, the Coyotes got canceled. Cancel culture has extended all the way to a whole hockey team. It's not the Blackhawks, as you would expect. It was, unfortunately, the Coyotes, who they're the red-headed stepchild of the league, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, the Houston Coyotes are very quickly... I mean, sorry.
The Quebec Coyotes are... That's the great thing about Coyotes. They're fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
And so, you can just... the animal is valid in pretty much in any environment.
Yeah, so the Hartford Coyotes are going to be really misplaced this year.
They're going to have to switch their diet from, cactus and cactus wrens to fish, but...
That's an upswing, I think.
Hard to imagine the Coyotes return to Arizona, or at least Glendale.
Yeah, they're out in Glendale. Gary Bettman came out and said that the plan is for them to stay in the greater Phoenix area.
And everyone responded, yeah, right.
Sure. There is another arena in Phoenix, and I think they actually used to play there. I could be totally making this up.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, so that is a possibility. However, I'm going to guess that arena is not as nice as Gila River Casino,
sure,
and Boat Show Emporium Arena. I don't know.
Yeah, I played enough NHL 98 to know that they had another stadium.
I mean, the NHL has gone so far as to own the Arizona Coyotes to make sure that they stay in Arizona. So I think the NHL is going to do everything possible to keep the Coyotes in Arizona.
Yeah, especially now that they are holding up Austin Matthews like Mufasa holding up Simba.
Where are we going to get the next Austin Matthews from? I know, the entire Eastern Seaboard.
But he was made in Arizona.
Oh my God.
And he plays hockey because of the Coyotes' outreach to kids in Arizona.
And he has a mustache like Ron Jeremy. Like,
he
cool,
plays
right?
roller hockey.
He hung out with Justin Bieber. Yeah, wow.
Okay, that's the most awkward part of his whole thing.
Yeah,
like
the Bieber crew, the Biebs crew.
that somehow keeps getting Frederick Anderson like not listed. Like, it's like, hey, it's Mitch and it's Austin and it's this other guy in the back. We don't know who he is. He might be a trainer. He might be Bieber's pizza holder. Like, you don't know.
Well, like, compared to the other two, he's a grandfather.
It's true. He's just this awkward old guy that hangs out with us and buys us beers and gives us drugs.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Freddie Anderson. I'm part of the crew.
I'm going to be your goalie today.
It's like when they did like road rules back in the day, and like they had the one guy you're like, how did this guy get invited? And then you were like, oh, it's because he does all the crazy shit. You know, Freddie Anderson is like jumping into the ring at the MMA fight, like, I'll take you all down. Yeah, anyways, I don't see the Coyotes leaving Arizona anytime soon, to be perfectly honest. And I think the NHL will do everything in their power, because ultimately, can't they just say, no, you can't relocate?
I think they do have that power.
Yeah, and I know Major League Baseball does. I think
this is much ado about nothing, but it's hilarious that some soon-to-be backwater stadium has decided that an NHL franchise is not worth their money.
Ultimately, whatever. This is nothing.
You know what else makes the Arizona Coyotes sad? Is they couldn't draft one of these guys that is returning to Michigan for what looks to be like a collegiate super team.
It's probably the most talented college hockey team ever, I would think, right? Like, if we're basing it off of draft status.
I'm sure some of the Minnesota teams from the early 2000s and 90s, like,
maybe
also had, I mean, but like top to bottom.
I actually doubt they did, because a lot of the really great players didn't go to college.
Right. And, you know, their shining pride would be like Thomas Vanek or something. Yeah. The news is that Owen Power, Matty Beniers, and Kent Johnson aren't going to form an insurance sales group together. They're actually going back to Michigan for their sophomore season.
Hallelujah. This is, you know, by draft position, this is the most talented team I think we can say in college hockey history.
So Owen Power went 1. Matty Beniers went
2. Johnson went 5. Luke Hughes is joining. He went 4th. Mackie Samoskevich went, I think, 21st. He's in the freshman class this year with Luke Hughes. There's
and then
Johnny Beecher, who was a first-round draft pick of Boston. Like, they're losing Cam York, who was a first-round draft pick 2 years ago, and people are like, I'll be all right.
Yeah, but then also signed a bunch of other players as a result of this super team forming, because nobody wants to play on a team that gets rolled by the super team. You want to play on the super team.
Yeah, including a couple of kids who left Notre Dame to come to Michigan, which is like just beautiful.
That is that like nature is returning. They're lining up this just murderer's row of college hockey players bottom to top. And yeah, as you assert, it could be maybe the best assembly of college hockey talent ever.
If they don't win a national title, it's underachieving.
Right. Partially because the NCAA hockey system has become more attractive for players of higher and higher talent levels. And also a big reason for this happening is because these guys basically missed a season.
Yep.
And so, missed out on the college experience of like
hanging out in a dorm room with your bros, getting high, and eating pizza. It's awesome to see these guys go back to school. Keep in mind, Michigan hockey also lost the chance to play in the playoffs last year because of COVID. They had a couple of cases and they had to bow out of the playoffs.
And they were a highly ranked team with big things expected of them.
Yeah, I mean, they had a rough middle of the year, as is to be expected when you're being led by a bunch of freshmen who are 17, 18 and are expected to be top 10 draft picks and were. But so second year with all those guys, plus like Thomas Bartolo is still there. Like there's a ton of talent still in Ann Arbor outside of these guys. It'll be cool to watch. I'm going to have to find some illegal streams this year because I'm not paying for another fucking streaming service. Yeah. If anybody has any illegal streams for college hockey.
I got you.
Yeah. Just hit us up on the Twitter.
College hockey.
Okay. So enough about Michigan. Henrik Lundqvist, the king.
Calling it.
And good. You know, like he has a very obvious or very definite health condition that says he should probably stop playing hockey. He's also, I mean, he's in his mid 30s. Like that's generally a time when people say, I'm about to kind of give it up, and
they start reevaluating their life, like
move
brick
back
by
to
brick,
Sweden and
move in with your identical brother. And
yeah, is this is this Property Brothers or is this?
No, I didn't know that Henrik Lundqvist had a brother that looks like he could be a identical twin until I saw some photo of him enjoying coffee together or something, and it's like, oh, you have a backup. But yeah, we're gonna miss him. He's such a great interview, such a great guy, always super snappily dressed. Basically raises
positive.
Raises the sartorial per 60 of the league just single-handedly. You know, we were sort of hoping that he would come back from his open heart surgery.
Yeah, I mean, he had real heart surgery last year and missed the entire year. I don't think there were ever really rumors after he officially shut it down for the year, because he was working out, he was trying to get back into shape, and then he had a setback and decided he was like, okay, I'm done for the year. I have to sit out. And I don't think there were ever really rumors that he was going to come back after that.
It's sad to see him go out like this, but also, you know, it's probably time. You know, you got to take care of your body for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you got a good 50 years left, bud. Like, go home and hang out with your kids or whatever. Good for him. He's, I think, for sure, a Hall of Famer.
He better be.
Yeah, I know he doesn't have a cup, but he's got a Vezina. He was just outrageously good for probably about 10 years there.
And always, like, you know, contributed positively to the culture of the league, was always a great interview, took winning and losing like a class act, and, you know, led some very, very good teams relatively deep into the playoffs before it became apparent that the Rangers just weren't going to get over the top and had to blow the whole thing up. And he was probably the biggest casualty of that. For sure.
Yeah. The Rangers have said that they'll retire his number as soon as is possible. Not to like move on from Lundqvist, but Chris Pronger is going to get the same honor from the Blues this year, which is, I think pretty much everybody hates that guy, but he was an incredible defenseman for a long time.
Yeah.
Like almost single-handedly carried a number of franchises to either like conference finals or Stanley Cup finals.
From like the beginning of his career to the end.
Yeah.
Like he was just dominant.
He also died on the ice. And so like, I think it was Nick Lidstrom hit him in the heart with a slap shot and he was just like dead. And we were like, oh, well, uh-oh. And then he rose from the ashes, and so my brother and I called him Zombie Pronger for the rest of his career.
That's very like yin and yang, like Hall of Famers. You know, Pronger's already in. You know, Lundqvist being this just nice guy, Pronger being this tall defenseman that would murder you.
Had fun doing it too. Reveled in blood and broken bones of his enemies.
I was wondering who you were talking about there, but yeah.
Yeah, he's his like closest person that I can think of is like Daniel Day-Lewis's character in There Will Be Blood. Like, instead of a bowling pin, he has a hockey stick. Like, anyways, so the Stanley Cup was awarded months ago.
So speaking of drinking your milkshake.
Yeah.
And as you're saying, the Stanley Cup has been going on some adventures, many of which involving food. And because we're hurting for off-season content, you know, like to just take a quick stop and see what Stanley the Cup is up to these days. Mostly to make comments about other things. Specifically, Cedric Paquette ate shrimp poutine out of the cup. That's a thing? Shrimp poutine? Like, it looks like it took like dorm room salad shrimp and like dumped it on poutine and then ate it out of the cup. Like, I was pretty dismayed by that as a culinary choice for a Stanley Cup winner.
Yeah. So you've got one thing, shrimp, which is great.
Yeah, on its own.
In most of its applications. We were talking earlier before we recorded about like cocktail shrimp kind of sucks.
Definitely.
But like most every application of shrimp otherwise is pretty solid. So shrimp on its own, great. Poutine on its own, great.
Yeah.
Is this a mashup we needed to see though?
I don't think so. Maybe call it Canadian insensitivity or as a dumb Yank myself, but shrimp poutine seems like a match made in, I don't know, like the first round of Chopped or something. David Savard, did the nice thing. He took it on a scenic tour through Quebec City. Like, I want to do that. Like, I'm jealous of the cup, seeing more of the world than I have. But then he ate out of it a combination of mashed potatoes, scallops, and caviar. He kind of lost me with the caviar. I mean, maybe this is like a income bracket thing, but that seems like a strange combination. Like, you just went to the really nice restaurant and looked at the entrees and just kind of said, I'll have the most expensive ones. Like you're trying to, I don't know, impress a date from Jersey Shore.
That's like the girl talk of cup stuffings. Like, we'll take this like really
I love it. I love it.
Like, you'll take this really great thing and this really great thing and this really great thing, and we'll just put it in a blender and throw it in the cup.
Yeah,
and
we're gonna go a little bit of Andre 3000, and we're gonna go a little bit of Hunger Strike by Temple of the Dog.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes it works. Yeah, I mean, there are worse things to eat out of it, I think. I mean, shrimp on poutine, maybe. I
My thoughts exactly. I was like, what are you doing? Like, it's one thing if the shrimp looked good, but it did not.
Yeah. We're going to be going back to this entire episode. Yeah, Alex Killorn brought it to the Bell Center, which is funny. Yeah,
well, I mean, the funniest part about it was Montreal Canadiens fans got all butthurt, as they're wont to do.
When aren't they?
I didn't realize until this season how easy they were to troll.
Yeah.
And we'll get to trolling of the Canadiens a little bit later in the segment, or a little bit later in the episode. But like, he just raised the cup outside of the stadium in his hometown where he won games to win that cup. And they instantly were like, this is classless. We do not like what is happening. You are trampling on dead Frenchmen. It was like,
I mean, there's so many of them to trample on.
But yeah, it was this like patently uncontroversial thing he did. He just raised the fucking cup. I don't think all Montreal fans got butthurt about it, but like the ones that are butthurt about everything
are all on Twitter.
Yeah. And like they all got triggered by it, and it was really super, super hilarious. Because it was, just a patently like good-hearted thing he was doing. He wasn't, I don't know. I didn't see it as him stomping on the team he just beat in the playoffs.
I hope it was.
Yeah, I almost kind of hope it was. Like,
I hope he's laughing at home on his jet skis,
if
3 or 4 at a time.
Yeah, while he looks at his
no, wait, that's
Harvard.
Pat Maroon. Sorry,
I'm sure Alex Killorn has jet skis. Come on, he plays in Tampa and he's got a Harvard degree. Come on, he's
all right.
He's got jet skis, but yeah, that is some Harvard level trolling, if that's what it was. Because like, if you can piss someone off by just doing something relatively nice, like
no, I'm here celebrating a victory with my friends and family, and Montreal is like, this is not good enough.
Yeah. Stamkos went with a bit of an avant-garde decision in that he built a giant cake replica of the Stanley Cup to size and displayed them both alongside each other. I thought that was a nice touch, fairly interesting, almost postmodern.
How does one come up with that idea though? Is it
I think it's
searching for originality? I think at that
Yeah, I think it's like, I don't know, probably something you offshore to your agent or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, for
make me
sure.
look good.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with the cup? I don't know.
point, your publicist.
Yeah,
you're like
I think this is an option on the NHL game in the career mode. Like what do you do with the cup?
you know, I was just thinking about this. Like you always see beer, you always see food, sangria.
That would be very cultured.
Yeah, like you get some fruity, super alcoholic wine. Just put my face in it. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't even know what I would.
you could fishbowl that shit. Put like
Some
30 straws.
Yeah. That would be pretty cool. You could get a bunch of people around it, drinking out of it, just passing
Yeah.
spit, like,
Yeah, like college party it up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for a post-COVID cup. That's for a post-COVID cup winning. All right, that's enough cup talk. That season's done and dusted until we get to it in a little bit later. A couple of just like shitty things to take care of real quick because they need to be talked about. They all suck on various levels.
Yeah, but speaking of,
Very different levels, but
so on the other side of tributes, this week, the hockey world said goodbye to Jimmy Hayes, brother of current NHLer Kevin Hayes and former NHL player for the Bruins and Blackhawks, amongst others, himself, who died unexpectedly at age 31, only months after having his second child with his wife. And autopsy has come back inconclusive, and they're waiting on a tox screen, but basically nobody has any idea why he died or how yet. And that makes this all the more, I don't know, open wound, I guess, is the feeling that I get from the hockey community. The Dorchester hockey community that he grew up around is notoriously kind of tightly knit, and a lot of people went back there this week for the funeral and have given a lot of tributes to him. And, it was heartwarming to see how this sport brings people together, even in a time of really terrible loss for a lot of them. PK Subban was back making an appearance and showing his support for the Hayes family in their time of need. And Kevin gave a really touching eulogy, and the wound won't close like it normally does without kind of knowing why or how he passed away. And maybe we won't know, but it was super sad to see. And, it just kind of reinforced that we're not here for very long, and you kind of want to be the kind of person that it sounds like Jimmy Hayes was, in that, he was always a really nice guy, a favorite teammate on the teams he was on, and a lot of people had just great things to say about the guy. If you're going to have to go too soon, that's what you want said. So our hearts go out to his family and all his friends. And, this was a really tough thing to see this week.
so moving from somber to just the ever evolving scandal that is the life of Evander Kane.
Yeah, tough to see for other reasons.
So his bankruptcy proceedings have been going on for quite some time now. There have been numerous things that have come out about him, his lifestyle, his lack of parenting, allegedly. However, this had not yet come out. Apparently, he has paid for not one, not two, but 3 abortions with the same woman. He has paid for her to have them. As
I think he got the first one free.
Yeah.
Is from what I've heard. On the house.
the second was $125K, and then he promised her $2 million for the third one, and then reneged on that agreement because she had said that she was going to keep it.
Yeah.
And as soon as she said, "Hey, I've done it," he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to pay you that money."
Oh, hey, that money never existed anyways.
Which, like, it seems like Evander Kane not paying people money is just kind of a common theme.
I would hate to be like a contractor or something that
Yeah.
worked for him.
I'd be like, "Wait, whose house is this? Evander Kane? Nah."
Some like hockey conscious contractor avoided him back in the day. That would be hilarious.
We aren't going to see that money ever. This is just like another level of allegedly awful things in the summer of Kane. It's getting absurd at this point.
It is. First you hear about his marital issues and the fact that he's an absentee father. And then you hear none of his teammates like him and they all wanted him traded, and like to a point where all of their agents are getting involved. And now you hear that he's, paying for and bargaining for abortions of his possible children to be had. Like, you were willing to extend him a fair amount of understanding, and then like it just stopped here, like there.
It's hard to, because you want due process to happen. You want like the truth, quote unquote, unequivocal truth to come out. But at a certain point, you just have to stop suspending belief.
Yeah, and this is due process happening.
And just, this is in the middle of due process.
Yeah, this is
of his bankruptcy proceedings. At a certain point, you have to go, like, even if none of this is true, absolutely none of it, there's a level of like shittiness to this, because you don't get yourself into the position to be accused of all of these things unless you're like definitely a shitty person.
Yeah, agreed.
And like Evander Kane like even said, "Yeah, I definitely paid, or she's definitely had these abortions." And it's like
and
and
that's a decision between the two of them. But if you're going to coerce somebody with a large amount of money to do this very invasive thing to their body,
probably seemingly against their will,
and then back out, like that's bonkers. And it does not look good for him. Like, does he just settle to stop the bleeding that's happening from this discovery process? Because like, could it get worse somehow?
What if there's no name to clear? Like,
what
if what you did is shitty? And like, at what point do you just accept the fact that you did a shitty thing and say, "I'm just gonna get out of the spotlight"? And like, as we know happens all the time with the 24-hour news cycle, people will forget about this.
Yeah, and like, you wonder if they have more leverage over him that they're not using yet. Like, it's obvious now that there has been a ratcheting of pressure through this legal process, through this discovery process, through the public comments by his soon-to-be ex-wife. And it's gotten more and more ridiculous at every step. So like, maybe he can't leave. Maybe this is just his Hotel California, and he's basically just being like read his sins in the discovery process of how little, or how to divide the little money that he has.
Mostly what I'm saying is, I hope nothing else comes out of the Evander Kane stuff.
No,
I hope it just ends, because I'm really fucking tired of talking about how shitty of a person Evander Kane allegedly is.
Yeah, and I don't want there to be any more victims.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't want there to be another person telling a horrible story about this guy. We've already established that he's pretty crummy, and they already ruined one exciting hockey player for me. Apparently being named Kane in the NHL is not a very good indicator of your off-ice pursuits.
If you're a woman and you meet a person whose last name is Kane and they tell you they're a hockey player, go elsewhere. Find love elsewhere. Also in stupid shit, Mitchell Miller.
I'm surprised he's come back to us.
He didn't need to.
No, he really.
But then the
really
Tri-City
did not.
Storm were like, well, you know what we need on our team? Fuckery.
Yeah. And so the USHL is definitely a bit of a hit for him talent-wise from where he was. But he is getting a chance to play hockey again on a real team very quickly after his scandal broke. And
It's just a year.
And frankly, he hasn't really done much in that year to help his case. He released a statement, which was categorically awful. If you don't remember Mitchell Miller, he was a former draft pick of the, why do we have to beat on them? Arizona Coyotes.
Formerly the Glendale Coyotes.
Who had his draft position rescinded and also lost his spot on the University of North Dakota hockey team because of a bullying incident that was uncovered when he was in high school. He and another kid racially bullied a special needs black kid and did awful things to him. We talked about it some episodes ago. I don't remember when it was. Don't listen to it. It's awful to listen to. Like, you should.
We're great. The content is terrible.
Yeah, I hate talking about this guy. Why we're talking about him is like, a lesson in what not to write in terms of PR, which is, we're getting this lesson many times over this off season.
He has the worst advisors ever.
Yeah.
Like, his advisors are right. It's probably the same people who wrote that PR statement for Jake Virtanen.
But what he said is, what I did when I was 14 years old was hurtful to others, and I'm truly sorry for that. I've done a lot of growing up over the past 5 years and become a mature person who is respectful of everyone at all times. I pledge to
Stop right there. Respectful of all people at all times. That right there is an outright lie. This dude is going to be Uncle Rico from from Napoleon Dynamite for the rest of his life. Like I bet you I could have shot a hockey puck over them mountains if they just give me a chance after I okay, that's where the metaphor breaks down. But like, after I racially abused a kid, like, fuck, man, like, he deserves no more chances at hockey. Like, should he be allowed to have a life and whatnot? Yeah, sure, of course. But like, at a certain point, you lose having nice things handed to you, like a hockey career. Like, you don't get that anymore.
Yeah, what drove me nuts is he said something to the effect of calling this abuse of this kid an inconvenience. And the family and this child have reiterated time and again that they've not really gotten a real apology from
And they
Mitchell
never
Miller.
will.
It does not sound like that is forthcoming. And I think that should be a stipulation of him ever playing in the league.
It's
again.
because he doesn't think he actually did anything wrong. He thinks this is all fun.
Right. He thinks he doesn't have to
There are
face consequences, which is, that's why he'll reiterate the same way that Logan Mayo would reiterate, like, I'm young, mistake. They always push some responsibility onto the victim and try and cage it as a learning experience when it's like, no, this is just an indication that you're a psychopath and lack empathy.
At least, yeah, you're at least a shitty human being, but probably some level of socio-psychopath. Like the inability to see what you have done as awful outside of the fact that it has now cost you things is like a true sign of somebody who just doesn't give a fuck about other people. And he deserves to have these things taken from him because of the awful things that he's done. It is true that mistakes should not define your life, so long as you can learn from them and grow from them and evolve from them and become a truly better person. But along the way, your mistakes are going to cost you things. They're going to cost you chances at happiness that you thought you once had. And his actions, his words, don't show any growth or evolution or change or adaptation from the shitty things that he's done.
Yeah, he confirms that he hasn't really even spoken to the kid and the family, his victims, since this became public. He said, I was unable to reach out to after the incident.
Really? You don't have Snapchat?
And yeah, he probably put tons of TikTok videos out in the world between them. But he says, but I think eventually I will definitely reach out and obviously say I'm sorry for all the inconvenience I caused when we were 14 with their family and the child.
It'd be really funny if he just like took a clapper in the gonads in his first game in the USHL. And like the guy who shot it was like, you know why I did this. And
that would be awesome.
Anyways, this kid's a shithead. So enough of the bad stuff. Let's talk about good stuff. And despite the fact that USA #1 did not win, the good stuff is the women's worlds.
Yeah, it was super fun. The highlights that I could catch, because it was insanely difficult to actually watch the games live, were super fun. And it sounds like, they had a blast in this tournament. It was always going to kind of be Canada versus the US for the championship, but they made it a doozy.
But it almost didn't play out that way. Like
almost.
The US and Canada,
it did.
It did. The US and Canada, they turned it on when they needed to, but they were like one bad game away from maybe not even medaling. And then they were like, hold on.
Yeah, they did what the NBA players did in the Olympics. They made it interesting by being rusty.
Yes, and so the U.S. and Canada ended up going into overtime, where, of course, Marie-Philippe Poulin scores the clinching goal. It's the first time Canada's won since 2012, which
is that was kind of an amazing thing to write. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Canada didn't win a hockey thing in almost 10 years?
Yeah.
Something's wrong.
Something was wrong. But they righted that ship this year, much to the chagrin of my USA #1 chant. #1 in COVID deaths. So one of those like just great moments for women's hockey, though, watching this final, like you see the skill, you see the physicality, you see the speed that is played, or that the women's game is played with. And immediately you go on Twitter and there's bad takes from stupid guys who just like have to say bad takes about everything. It's like women might get up a leg up in the world. No, Twitter says no. White guy Twitter says no. And so like,
thankfully, white guy Twitter gets lambasted by most of the rest of,
including the rest of white guy Twitter. So it was awesome. Like, I'm with Evan. It was hard for me to juggle watching games with the rest of my life, unfortunately. So I only caught bits and pieces here and there, but I did catch parts of the championship game, and it was as all games, except for the early game that was like 5-2, where Canada just steamrolled the US. Every game between the US and Canada is like must-see TV, and the final did not disappoint in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, these two teams do not like each other. Like, and in the way that is best for hockey fans. They were being incredibly physical. Face washes and cross checks after the whistle were par for the course.
There was a bloodletting.
Yeah. What actually did happen that was crazy is Canada's Blair Turnbull broke her leg, snapped her tibia, I believe.
Celebrating.
And made it back on the ice on a stretcher for the gold medal ceremony. The visuals were amazing. Like, she's like getting a medal and being like, I don't know, because she's probably just high as or on adrenaline too. Like, you're just high on a combination of things. That part was really interesting to see. And yeah, it just adds to the lore of these two teams playing together and makes you not want to wait for them to play again.
A lot of these women will be playing soon in the Olympics, this, I think, February. So we don't have long to go to get back to national level women's hockey, which is great. We're going
That
to
is
see
great.
the NWHL start here in the fall. It was incredible to watch women's hockey played at the highest level and to just be as thrilling as we know it could be. And it was the championship game especially did not disappoint on any level.
Yeah, the unfortunate side of things is women
White male
seemingly
Twitter.
cannot play hockey without white men on Twitter saying something dumb. And in this case, it was a lot of different reporters, Elliot Friedman amongst others, felt the insane need to compare this goal to Patrick Kane's cup-winning goal from the 2010 Stanley Cup run. And like the two goals...
Wait. Okay, you can continue.
Yeah, it was super disheartening because it's like, can't we just have one game where you don't mention Amanda Kessel's brother? Can we just have one game where we don't bend over backwards to make comparisons to the men? I understand you're trying to pander to me,
But I don't care.
and I don't need that pandering. Like, I'm here to watch women's hockey and enjoy women's hockey for what it is. I would rather you tell me more about the history of women's hockey.
Oh, the Czech women are playing? Well, let's talk about Jaromír Jágr for half a period.
Yeah, right.
Shut the fuck up.
The point that people were making were trying to compare Marie-Philip Poulin's goal in overtime to the Patrick Kane goal in overtime. And like the only thing that was remarkably similar is that they both came from the left side of the goal in overtime. I'm sure there are many more goals to compare to. I don't know. They weren't similar enough where you really need to make that a storyline unless you're really grasping at straws.
People were like splicing them together to like show how similar they were.
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
like,
like
no.
and if there is one player in the NHL
Yeah.
to not bring up in a women's game, it's Patrick fucking Kane.
Right.
Fuck. Why? Like the guy who has a, albeit not convicted, very checkered past with women. Why are you bringing him up in the women's game?
Yeah, why do you feel the need to bring him up? Like, I get he's a star player and apparently, big on ESPN.
Yeah, there are so many other fucking dudes. If you
Right.
have to bring up men hockey players to satisfy some audience who
Right.
you think is watching women's hockey, not fucking Patrick Kane. Fuck. God damn it.
I'm laughing at your animatedness,
I-
not the...
My arms are flailing.
I think your volume level speaks wonders.
So let's end it on a great milestone.
Yeah, in that Hilary Knight in this tournament became the all-time leading scorer in Women's World Championship history, surpassing Cami Granato with her 45th goal. Cami Granato is like, I don't know, to me, like the original women's hockey player. Like, that's an incredible milestone.
It's kind of like Marta scoring the most Olympic goals earlier this summer. It's that kind of level of awesome, and it's really cool.
So Hilary Knight graduates from Knight to Queen of the all-time women's world championship scoring leaderboard, taking the most dominant chess piece on the table.
So we're gonna chat really quickly about I'm just gonna breeze through these re-signings. I don't really feel like saying much about them.
We turned it up a notch there. Now we're gonna take it down a notch and talk about some smooth re-signings.
Kyle Palmieri. A bunch of these are the Islanders just finally announced their signings. So
Yeah, what do they like? Only
they did this last year too.
do they only like telegraph them all in a via Morse code
It's like
on
a dot matrix printer.
Yeah, they fax them over in one heap to save money because they're the Islanders. Like,
yeah.
oh man, it's 15 cents a page, but if you send it on Saturday and only has one, it's 12 cents a page. Like Lou Lamoriello's like, oh man, that's worth like my fourth line center right there.
So Kyle Palmieri, $5 million a year for 4 years. Casey Cizikas, $2.5 million a year for 6 years. Anthony Beauvillier, $4.15 million a year for 3 years. Ilya Sorokin, $4 million a year for 3 years. That's a lot of signings by the Isle. Reportedly, they have a Zach Parise contract already tied up, and he's heading to New York shortly. So that'll probably get announced here relatively quickly. In other areas of the world, not on the Isle of New York.
Not in Nassau.
Connor Murphy, $4.4 million a year for 4 years in Chicago. Colton Parayko, $6.5 million a year for 8 years in St. Louis.
A spendy defenseman. I love it.
Speaking of spendy defenseman, Travis Sanheim, $4.675 million a year for 2 years. Nikita Zadorov signed a 1 year, $3.7 million deal. And the two biggest contracts that have been signed since we last were together, Andrei Svechnikov and Sean Couturier signed identical 8-year, $7.75 million per year contracts. One of these things is 23 years old. The other is 29 years old.
You know, he also his game could be pretty serviceable at 37. We'll see.
We will see.
Claude Giroux has not exactly aged super awesomely, but, you know.
Well, he's busy playing beer pong with two broken wrists. So, and finally, one signing that we do need to talk about a little bit in depth. Jesperi Kotkaniemi signed a 1 year, $6.1 million offer sheet with the Carolina Hurricanes that included a $20 signing bonus,
amazing,
which happens to be the number of Sebastian Aho, who Montreal offer sheeted 2 years ago. There's so many layers and levels, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but
it is off-season hockey Christmas. What we wanted to happen happened.
One,
ridiculous offer sheet.
An offer sheet happened. Holy shit. Two, this is the most spiteful thing in hockey in years.
Amazing.
This even down to the tweet that Don Waddell of the GM in Carolina sent out, which was almost word for word the tweet that Montreal put out when they offer sheeted Sebastian Aho.
In French.
They did it in French and English, but the fact that they did it in French is even more spiteful.
And they changed their Twitter, I think, description to be in French. The Kane's Twitter did.
Here's the thing. This is a terrible contract.
It is. I mean,
it's like 3 times what Jesperi Kotkaniemi is worth at this point in his career.
Right. Even optimistically, at least double. It's hilariously expensive for a player that's probably worth about $2 million and signed an offer sheet for $6.1 million.
Here's another batshit crazy thing. So the Hurricanes signed Jesperi Kotkaniemi for $6.1 million. During this offseason, their highest bid to probably future Norris winning defenseman Dougie Hamilton was $6.2 million. That means in somewhere in the lizard brain of Don Waddell, they think that the spiting of Montreal is worth $0.1 million less than keeping a franchise defenseman in your organization.
And that is kind of the word on the street, is that the GM had very little to do with this, and this really came from the owner being pissed off about how much he has to pay one of his star players because he was offer sheeted several seasons back. And
the Aho contract is a good contract.
Yeah, right. They signed a contract that he was going to be worth anyways.
It's reasonable.
And so, it started this hilarious chain reaction where Montreal fans, bless their heart, don't know what to make of this. Half of them are like, we need to pay up and keep this player here and match this offer sheet that he's been signed to, or we need to take the automatic draft picks and let
first
him
and a third
in a very deep draft.
Yes.
Probably better than the draft that Kokniemi came out of.
Oh, not even arguably. Like, this is a very deep forward draft for
And
2022.
in a year that it's hard to see Montreal repeating the same success that the same sort of like middling and punching above their weight class talent-wise success that they've had the past couple of years. It's hard to see them not drafting a better player than him. But also, he's shown that he's like actually pretty good. They've kind of fucked up his development.
He's a very good playoff player.
Yeah.
He showed that this year.
They've really screwed with his development. He was he's a European guy coming into the NHL game.
Immediately.
They played him in the NHL at 18, and he's been there for 3 years, which that puts him in rare air in terms of the amount of time you spend in the NHL as a young player. So, he is good. He's not worth $6 million right now.
He's super young still. He's 21.
But they've caught Montreal in the middle where like, you have to decide on this player right now. Are you going to put up or shut up? Is he worth this stupid contract that will pay him and you would be over the cap if you paid him? Or are you going to let him go?
Also, you let Philip Deneau walk. So, like,
Right.
Who's your first line center?
And, you let Deneau walk and Kokniemi walk in an offseason. Nick Suzuki's looking around saying, all my friends are dead.
It's like the Psalm.
He's your real future center that it probably has a higher ceiling than Kokniemi.
You went from having a 3 deep of centers that was very solid to, oh, fuck.
Right.
And you're right. Nick Suzuki is probably a future first line center. Like, he's very good and will be better.
Kokniemi is probably a future second line center.
Easily. He's already their second line center. Like,
right. But like a future, like very, cream of the crop second line center. Which
I don't know who's dumber in this. It's a bad situation. The brilliance of it is that it's a 1-year deal and he's still an RFA afterwards. So Carolina could theoretically be like, hey, actually, we really like you, but not at $6 million, but we'll give you this longevity and say at,
right.
$4.5 million or
they've
whatever.
paid a premium for the negotiating rights, which is basically just it's basically just a bonus. It's basically just a
$20 bonus.
the signing. I mean, yeah, that's the other thing is absent. They're basically just paying him a signing bonus, absent the actual signing bonus, which they use to troll the other team. Oh, this is such just amazing juiciness from these stodgy white men. Also might be the last time anyone offer sheets anybody
ever again. That's the other thing that I thank you for saying that, because that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. If this ends offer sheets for all time,
that sucks.
Fuck Carolina.
Yeah, because offer sheets are insane and should happen more often.
We want to finish today by it's the first time we get to do this, recapping the shit we said in our season preview.
Talking about ourselves.
Yes, which I'm very good at. We said a lot of things in our season preview. It was an hour and 45 minutes long.
As you pointed out, I'm surprised we said so many good things.
We said a lot of good things. We said a lot of really awful things. Not awful. Well,
I was actually impressed by the lack of really awful things we said.
Outside of Carter Hart, yes, we did very well.
A lot of people, Carter Hart made a lot of people eat their shoes last year.
Like
so
your fantasy team. Yeah. So I just want to kind of like recap a couple of things that were said, some of our predictions, and make fun of ourselves.
All the things we said are running through my head.
So I
through my head.
I listened. Is that tattoo?
Yep.
Okay.
You damn right it is.
So I listened to our season preview again today to kind of take these down.
Bravery.
And,
such bravery.
We've gotten definitely better.
That's good.
That was a relief. So these are just a listing of random things that Evan or I said. I said the North Division will be fun, which
survey says correct.
I was gonna say no. I thought it was just kind of boring. Like
it was. You mean from like a standings perspective?
Well, at first it was super fun because you were like, oh yeah, Canada's playing each other. This is great. And then as the season wore on, I was like, I haven't watched a North Division game in a month and a half. I haven't even watched Connor McDavid do Connor McDavid shit. And I was like,
Yeah, they did sort of get like pigeonholed up there. Can I skip ahead to my sort of flip of the coin
which
prediction?
turned out to be extremely true.
Which is that Connor McDavid would pick apart teams when he gets to play them over and over and over again. And yeah, he put up the stupid fantasy season that he did. And,
unequivocally correct.
and I mean, that was also looking at the goaltending in the North. But like, yeah, the standings
And the defense
were so boring. The games were insane.
This is something that I said that turned out to be very prescient. All Tampa has to do is make the playoffs and they get Nikita Kucherov back.
Funny how that happens.
Ding, 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 ding.
And it happened like clockwork. And what would you say? It succeeded beyond their wildest dreams?
And for us, because we got to see Nikita Kucherov go full Florida man.
Yeah, he really did. What's more Florida man than repping one beer publicly while drinking another beer behind the podium?
Yeah, he's a champion for all time.
It's like, I am partying and making money off of my partying, but I don't actually like the thing I'm selling.
I mean, who does? The next thing that Evan and I both said this, and whew,
boy, were we wrong.
Evan said Carter Hart is going to stop a lot of pucks. I said Carter Hart is going to have an outstanding year.
And what did he finish? Like 0.88, something like that?
He finished negative 4,000 in the Vezina voting.
What was his actual save percentage last year, though?
I'm going to say
let's go
875.
877.
Woof.
That is so bad. And he played almost half the minutes he played the year prior with a 914.
Your next prediction was not true about the regular season, but very true overall. Evan said, I am predicting Montreal to succeed this year.
Yeah, that kind of came out of...
They had a great offseason.
Yeah, one I said was that Marc-Andre Fleury will not finish the year in Vegas, which was not true about the hockey year, but it is true about the calendar year. Willing to win in a technicality. So, now playing for I guess I'm a fan of the team in Chicago now.
The Chicago hockey team.
Mm-hmm.
I nailed this one when I said Hayden Fleury is going to take a big jump this year. This, I think, was mostly fueled on the fact that I signed him on my dynasty in NHL 20.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, he's a good player. He's going to take a huge leap forward.
He is a good player.
He took a huge leap transcontinentally to Anaheim. So that was wrong. Evan also said Dallas is going to get Ben Bishop back this year.
Whoopsie.
Nope. That's a big nope. I said if Anthony Mantha and Tyler Bertuzzi stay healthy, Larkin could have will have a great year. Otherwise, he could have 35 points. Well, Tyler Bertuzzi played 7 or 9 games. Anthony Mantha got traded, and Dylan Larkin missed 12 games because Jamie Benn broke his neck. And
Jamie Benn.
He finished with 23 points total. I said he would score 52, so I was just 29 points off.
It's a rounding error.
This last prediction or random comment that happened in our
it was offhanded.
It was an offhanded comment. We were talking about
buried on page 6. This one thing I said.
We were talking about Vezina winners, and Evan was talking about how he thought Robin Lehner was going to win. And he threw this out there, said Robin Lehner could get hurt and Marc-Andre Fleury could win the Vezina.
Partially talking about the team playing in front of him.
But it's 100% correct. Robin Lehner got hurt and Marc-Andre Fleury was like, hold my beer. And just went out and rocked guts for an entire year, winning his first ever Vezina and then getting him that much wanted trade to Chicago.
The most hurtful trade.
Yeah, that one was personal. We both picked division winners. I actually got 3 out of 4.
Yeah, I like how you're assigning these video game points, plus
ones.
1.
So I got Toronto, Colorado, and Carolina correct. I got Pittsburgh wrong.
That's not bad at all because Pittsburgh wasn't super far out of the chase.
No, they made the playoffs at least. Evan, you said Montreal, Colorado, Dallas, and Philly.
I don't get a +1 for Montreal. I mean, I know they weren't the division winner.
They didn't win the division.
But then they won the division in the playoffs.
No, you still don't get a point because you also
I
picked
know.
Dallas and Philly and they didn't make the playoffs.
Yep.
We were 100% wrong on our conference champs. We both picked Colorado. I picked Carolina. Evan picked Philly.
Oof.
And both wrong on our cup champs because Evan picked Colorado to come out of the West, but picked Vegas as his cup winner. And I made a comment about that, and he was like, fine, fuck it, it's Colorado. But I'm putting Vegas down here just for the sake of getting his initial report on paper. Unfortunately, he was more right because Vegas went further than Colorado did in the playoffs. So,
I mean, only because they ran into Vegas.
yeah. And then the Hart Trophy, I didn't go out on a limb and picked Nathan McKinnon because of how I rate the Hart Trophy. Like it's the most valuable person to their team in the league. Didn't really think Connor McDavid would go apeshit though. And you it's not.
I just drove that one straight down the middle.
Yeah,
like, I was just like,
you but you picked correctly. You got a randomly assigned to +1 for this.
yeah, I played the odds. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
But to his credit, Connor McDavid went banana sandwich
He did.
and fully deserved the Hart Trophy this year.
Absolutely and a half.
And for the Norris, we were both way off. I think
You were far closer.
far closer, but still way off. I picked Shea Theodore and Evan picked Quinn Hughes.
Which is hilarious because I remember at the time I was like, it's either Quinn Hughes or Kale McCarr. I can't. Quinn Hughes.
Yeah. Quinn Hughes, like everything in Vancouver, is licking a toilet bowl at this point.
They're just one big sad Quinn Hughes
He's
face.
very happy that his brother got drafted this year, although not as happy as Jack Hughes, who vibrated wildly just after hearing Jersey pick Luke. And then finally for the Vezina, we were both way off again. I picked Carter Hart, which we've gone over on many episodes how bad he was last year. Robin Lehner got hurt and never really got a chance to win the Vezina. However, his teammate did. Finally, I stole this segment from MGO Blog, which is a Michigan football blog. 3 opportunities for me to look stupid.
I could not pass one of those up.
I did somewhat terribly. Actually, I said Colorado would trade Ian Cole and a 3rd-round pick to Vegas for Marc-Andre Fleury. Ian Cole did get traded. However, it was to Minnesota.
Marc-Andre Fleury did get traded
To Chicago after the season. I said Edmonton would miss the playoffs and Dave Tippett would get fired and that Calgary would laugh despite also missing the playoffs. Only one part of that is true.
Edmonton did so poorly in the playoffs that I actually had to go back and remind myself that they made the playoffs.
It's like they weren't even there.
Right. Like I feel like you should get another +1 for that, even though it's technically wrong, because they got swept in the playoffs by a team that went on to get swept.
Ilya Sorokin, I said he would win the Calder at 25. That did not happen.
Well, that was not in the vicinity of happening, but that's not a bad guess. He played really well,
Yes.
and he was in the Calder conversation, but Kirill Kaprizov just ran away with it, and so we never even discussed goalies in the call.
And then I said that Dylan Larkin would be named the captain of the Detroit Red Wings. True, +1. And bounce back for 52 points, which would have been more than double what he actually had in an injury-shortened season.
Cut short by injury. He was on pace, though, sort of. Yeah?
No, not at all.
What did he have?
23 and 44.
Okay, maybe not.
Not even close. Evan jumped on this 3 opportunities for us to look stupid with a couple of Blackhawks predictions. One was he said that Marc-Andre Fleury would get traded to a terrible team, and I would love if he became a Blackhawk.
Wow.
Which
That's funny.
happened.
You would think they would learn how to spell his name right, but they didn't.
A name that has actually been in the NHL for decades.
So you probably know what I was talking about.
Oh, yes.
They published a picture of a bunch of jerseys, new player acquisitions in front of old players, and they misspelled his fucking name. Someone was summarily executed in the bowels of the United Center.
Which is actually only like the 5th worst thing to come out of Chicago this year. And then finally, Evan said that Alex DeBrincat would return to his scoring form, which was true. He had a great year.
If only I'd have grabbed him in fantasy.
If only, but c'est la vie. But yeah, so we had a kind of a mixed bag, which I think most prognosticators do on our first go around. We are going to try and embarrass ourselves probably more this year because honestly, the NHL is shaping up to be super wild this year, and I have no idea what's going to happen.
I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed. Like when I heard you were kind of reviewing our old prediction, it's like, little shudder went through my spine. It was like, I probably, said something stupid, and then you were like, actually, you did okay.
Well, we don't get paid to prognosticate. We don't get paid at all, but we also don't get paid to prognosticate. We just get paid to be handsome. So thank you for listening to us. We're not going to be regularly posting until probably the season starts, but we're going to get some NWHL content out to you soon. We're going to get some more we'll have an NHL preview that'll probably be just as long as the last one and take me 3 times as long to edit. Thank you for listening. You can find us all over the internets. Our website is handsomehockey.com. We are Handsome Hockey Podcast on Instagram, at Handsome Hockey on Twitter. Or you can email us at handsomehockeypod@gmail.com. And you can also join us on the Handsome Hockey Facebook page where we post memes and stuff.
Pictures of
us sitting in a basement.
Or pictures of Brett Hull rubbing his nipples.
Yeah.
At a Blues game.
Yeah. Which I think happens at most Blues games at this point.
I think it's just a nervous tick he has. Obviously, you are listening to us somewhere.
Better than his dad's nervous ticks.
Ooh. But you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Overcast, Red Circle, and YouTube.
Yep. Thanks again for checking us out. We really appreciate you joining us on this journey of slowly lessening mediocrity. But as always, stay safe out there. COVID is a real thing. Get your vaccines, be good to one another, and stay handsome, everybody.
Restez beau, tout le monde.